Mr. Buller's compliments to Mr. and Mrs. Southcombe. He is extremely sorry to find that they are in such a disordered state of mind, which he is persuaded is entirely owing to that extraordinary letter which Dr. Barber has lately sent them, of which Mr. Buller must again repeat his desire of having a copy, and begs that if they don't think it fit otherwise to grant it, that they should apply to the doctor for his leave to communicate it to him, and further observes that if the doctor declines giving his assent to the communicating of it to him, that it must proceed, and will be by the whole world adjudged to proceed, from a consciousness of not being able to support of what he has therein advanced. Mr. Buller, in order to remove and obviate all scruples or pretences for concealing the said letter, will engage for himself and Mr. Tossell that neither of them will give the doctor any further trouble about any matter or thing advanced in the said letter, in case the doctor will prove his assertions to be true to the satisfaction of Mr. Dardo, or of any of the two physicians at Exeter, or any one eminent physician in London. Or in case the doctor should fail in proving the truth of his assertions to the satisfactions of the persons aforesaid, the doctor shall acknowledge the folly, absurdity, and injustice of them, and shall express his concern for the uneasiness and trouble that they have occasioned in this parish. Mr. Buller begs that Mr. and Mrs. Southcombe would endeavour to compose their minds, so that reason might hold its due restraint over their passions, and in order thereto he wishes that they would take a ride tomorrow somewhere near the city of Exeter, where they might consult with such physicians as have been most conversant in the practice of inoculation in this county. Dr. Barber has had no experience in the practical way of inoculation by his recommending mercurials. Mr. Buller is persuaded he is very little acquainted with the theory of it, for mercury, by its great momentum, is apt to increase the velocity of the blood, which is a thing that is chiefly to be avoided in the preparation for inoculation. And therefore the most eminent physicians prescribe only the most cooling purges. Mr. Buller is further persuaded from what he has now felt on this occasion that there is as much danger in using mercurials, considered only abstractly in themselves, as there is in going through the smallpox by inoculation by a proper preparation. For though Mr. Buller has had a very numerous eruption, yet he has in all circumstances had the disorder in the most favourable way, for which under God he thinks himself greatly indebted to the care, skill, and integrity of Mr. Tossell, who during the whole course of the disorder never administered one single grain of physic, except one of manna, which he gave at 2 doses, very judiciously at the proper crisis. And with singular good effect, he likewise prevented the ebullition of the blood from rising too high by bleeding at the proper time, on which account Dr. Hanley has expressed a very high opinion of him during the ebullition which brought on the eruption. Mr. Buller had a little but very far from violent pain in his head, but he has during the whole course of his disorder hardly perceived the least pain in his back, sickness of his stomach, or any internal heat whatsoever. The eruptions appeared on Tuesday last night, and began to turn the Saturday following, and so continued turning gradually in the most kindly manner. Mr. Buller sat up yesterday for the first time, has been up near 5 hours this day, and continues to gain strength as fast as he can possibly wish. Mrs. Duke has the disorder on her now near Exeter in a very favourable manner. Mr. Buller is persuaded that there are few persons of Mr. and Mrs. Southcombe's age likely to succeed better than them, but says that it is absolutely necessary that their minds should be first better quieted concerning it, and therefore as their friend he heartily wishes and desires that they would lose no time in setting out for some place in the neighbourhood of Exeter, where they might most conveniently consult with some physicians conversant with the practice of inoculation. Written in Kingsnapton, November 17th, 1755.